he'll get to see the whole thing, which is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that works.
Is anyone still reading? Everyone good? All right. So what do you guys think? What stuck out to you from that reading?
The white stones were used to establish identity, admit entrance, or give permission.
Okay, yeah, it was allowed to admit entrance, allow privileges. What else?
Determine whether you're guilty or not, like innocence.
Yeah, they use it in court trials. The white stone would signify innocence, where the black stone would signify guilt. And whoever, if you had more, obviously, if you had more black stones than white stones, you'd be found guilty in court. What else?
It was a covenant of safe passage and eternal hospitality with God.
Yeah, it was a covenant of safe passage and eternal hospitality between man and God. So what do you think that, or does anyone have any other thoughts about it?
They were also used to prove truth and give judgment.
Yeah, prove truth and give judgment.
In the Olympic Games, winners arriving back in the cities were given like the ring of honor.
Yeah, oftentimes Olympic athletes or winners of athletic events would be given these white stones, and that would be not only to signify their victory, but they could also use that stone as like entrance to their form of an after party. So what an after party in our time is how they, like, I don't know, password to get into a club or something, I don't know. They would use that white stone to get into like this after celebration of the athletic event. So it's a covenant of safe travel between man and God. It could be used as to admit entrance to a celebration, to the market, things like that. So what do you guys think it means in terms or in light of this passage in the context of this letter?
In the letter, I think it means like, since it's a white stone, you're innocent and you're pure and you can use it to like get into heaven, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So as to symbolize our purity and to as an entrance token into heaven. Does anyone have any other ideas? So yeah, I think we can interpret this as the white stone being our entrance ticket into heaven, or our to symbolize our us conquering, us persevering. It can be used as our ticket to God, as as our entrance into heaven, like our salvation. I think it also symbolizes our unity as a body. It's what separates us from as Christians from the world. In that time, what do you think how do you think, we talked about Smyrna and how Christians were persecuted. How do you think that Christians were identified? Yeah, white stones, okay.
They didn't partake in the Roman events. So
Yeah, they didn't partake in the Roman events. More than that, do you think they could partake in the Roman events?
They could if they wanted.
Could if they wanted.
Like I said, the devout ones.
Okay. So we're going to watch a video that's going to talk about that time period and talk about some of the rights that Christians had and how, some of the rights that Christians had in that time period and how they were countercultural in a sense, or they weren't able to participate in some of these events. So yeah, I'll turn off the lights in a second, but what I want you to do as you watch this video, you're gonna do an evidence guide like we did a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was the week before we left for break, or the week before that. As we read chapter 3, we kept an evidence guide. So, yeah, you're done with the chart for now. So what I want you to do is, I want you to fill this out as we watch the video. So you're going to write whether you agree or disagree with each statement, and you're going to give examples from the video. Yeah. No, you can keep it.
I don't know. I don't know what paper.
Yeah, would you please? Thank you. So remember, you're saying whether you agree or disagree with each statement, and you're writing evidence from the video to support whether you agree or disagree. We won't finish this whole video in class today, so we'll finish it next time.
Be living here. Jesus went to the Galilee and called his disciples, his Talmidim, those who were passionately desiring to be like him with the fire of Elijah. What would happen when their teaching, their message began to bear fruit, and they made disciples? And they made disciples. And those disciples, or maybe some of the Galileans too, had to go out into a Greek world and teach in such a way that Greek people, Romans, people of a very different culture, would see and want to follow Jesus. Very beautiful location here today that we've come to visit and to learn more about what it means to be a disciple. It's called Priene. It's actually in two parts. There's an Acropolis up here. Didn't have a city up there apparently at the time that the good news got here. And then the lower city. We're among the ruins of the lower city. It's along the Meander River Valley. The sea today is about 5 miles away. In the first century, it was much closer. It's silted in today. In the region called Ionia. About 1000 BC, a city was established here by the Greeks who were coming east across the Aegean. They had Athena as their goddess, and they created a small community called Priene with a seaport. Very Greek in nature, obviously. It became Persian. Alexander the Great took it back, became Greek again, and then it came into the Roman Empire. So it's a small, about 35,000, 40,000 people, Greek Roman city in the first century. Not far from Ephesus, about a 2 days walk. Why are we here? Well, none of the disciples was here. The closest I can tell you is the Bible puts Paul at Miletus, which is the hill just across the valley over here. So he was close. I don't know how the good news got here, But we're here because in the first century, there was a community here that became followers of Jesus. So I'd like to look at what's it like when that message reaches a typical Greek-Roman city. Come, let's look. Okay, this is a really important part of the city. I'd like to have you follow it with your eyes for a moment. This is what is called the Agora. And the best way I can think of is to say sort of a cross between a mall and a flea market. Now imagine many long rows of small tents selling every imaginable product that you could get along the trade route here. Everything from spices from India to African wood to local pottery and food, all being sold by hundreds and thousands of individuals, some small farmers, some big merchants, and up here, the permanent shops, the people who own their own stores. Now you know Agora. And here, probably on this seat, or certainly one like it, sat the Agoronymos. Very important man, whose job it was to manage the Agora. When you came to the Agora to bring your products, you had to dedicate them to the god of the Agora. So when you came in with a cartload of pottery, cabbages, or spices,
Just a heads up, this is where you'll find number 2. This is where in the video you'll find number 2. Just a heads up.
the first thing you would do is roll your cart there by a small altar, take a pinch of incense, drop it on the altar to say, I devote this pottery, these cabbages, these spices to Zeus. So the Agoronymos sat here, and as you entered, he might step up and say, good to see you today. Boy, that's fine pottery. We're so glad you come to our Agora. Your pottery is the best there is. There's a new altar. Stop and sacrifice to Zeus. But I don't believe in Zeus. You don't believe in Zeus? You reject our gods? Then you can't sell your pottery. So all of a sudden, this little community trying to be like Jesus can't be involved in the economics of their world. They can't, in a sense, buy and sell, or at least it became very difficult, and certainly their neighbors looked down on them because they threatened to anger the gods. So you're countercultural. You're not going to change this world by engaging it in its own institutions because you can't even be involved. You've decided to follow a different teacher, rabbi, Messiah. Come. This small theater-like building is called Bouleuterion. The Greek word boule means council. So this was the city council. You get a little bit of an idea of the size of the council in this city. So we've come to a council meeting. As we walk in, we note in the middle of a room a beautiful marble podium. On top of it would have been a basin, square in this case. And in the basin, coals are glowing. Now this is not for the meal afterwards. Because if you look at the podium, there are carvings. Asclepius on one side, and on the other, Apollo. So at the door, we pick up a pinch of incense and we walk in. There's a puff of smoke, a sweet smell, and we say, we acknowledge the authority of Apollo and Asclepius. And I'll bet you Athena was one of the faces on here as well in this city of Athena. And now we sit down and conduct council business. Because everything in this world is religious. So, fellow believers who've decided to follow Jesus, we just lost our place on the council. Are you going to put incense on here? You can't acknowledge the authority of these gods. You've decided there is only one God, as taught by his Son. Yes? How long do you think they'll let you stay on the council if you won't acknowledge their gods? You've attended your last meeting. Hear me. Being a believer, being a Jesus follower here, was to be countercultural big time. Every single thing has changed. You've lost your economic edge. You may drop several economic notches. You've lost any political power you can ever have imagined. You're a nobody. If this city is going to come to know Jesus, it's not going to happen because of politics. Maybe their teachers, their rabbis, remembered the text. Say these words after me. The Hebrew text. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, declares the Lord. Being a disciple is to rearrange your whole life. Not as individuals, but as a community. But you know what? That was so radical that it began to unravel the social order. Because you see, in the Roman world, they had feasts and guild celebrations, and at those feasts the equestrians would eat first, and then the decurions, and then the freeborn. And if there was anything left, the freedmen, and if there was anything left, probably not, the slave. Now imagine coming to our place. And you, a former slave, are served by an equestrian. You cry. This new system. You've never been served in your whole life by anyone. And you, an equestrian, discover the joy of lowering yourself to be the servant of somewhere else. But the whole order unravels, because in the Roman world, that order, that class system was ironclad. And you know what's more? You've become my brother. You can't be my slave anymore. This community didn't have to say one word. And the way they lived unraveled the whole system.
So it's class, the bell's about to ring, so we'll finish this on Thursday, but just quick thoughts. What are some of your initial thoughts after watching that video?
It wasn't easy
It wasn't easy being a Christian, yeah. What else?
They weren't very tolerant.
The Romans? Yeah, they weren't very tolerant. Anyone else?
based pretty much on your religion and what you could and couldn't do.
Yeah, life was pretty much based solely on your religion, and pretty much, as we saw, every part of life was centered around religion. Not the Christian religion, but yeah. Anyone else before we go? All right, did everyone turn in their Smyrna charts?
Yes.
Okay.